Los Angeles is a city that needs no introduction. It is a mecca of both people and ideas. Los Angeles is home to Hollywood, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry that is involved in making and producing movies. It is also one of the most populated cities in the world, bringing in a lot of people. With more people comes the old saying, more people, more problems. While Los Angeles County is home to the city of Los Angeles, incorporated in it is other cities such as Malibu and Beverly Hills, where the estimated household income can be over $200,000. But if there is anything the city of Los Angeles is known for, is its disproportionality. One side of the city will have wealth, safety, and security, and on the other, we have the complete opposite. That is what I will be covering in today's video: the poverty, violence, and instability that prostitution brings to the street in South Central Los Angeles called Figueroa Street. Figueroa Street runs a total of 30 miles from the northern part of Los Angeles all the way to South Central Los Angeles, and that is where the street gets its reputation from. In South Central Los Angeles, Figueroa Street is known for its prostitution. In fact, it records the most number of prostitution-related arrests. Now, asking what can be done to solve prostitution is a question that people have been trying to solve for centuries. There is a reason prostitutes have been recorded to exist in every single ancient civilization, from Rome to Greece and ancient Egypt. It is a problem that has several solutions. Some are better than others. That is what I will discuss later in this video. I want to talk about what led to Figueroa Street to become a street known for prostitution and the dangers that come with it. In order to understand why Figueroa Street became known as the street with the most prostitution-related arrests, we have to understand the surrounding factors. Crimes like prostitution are like mold or bacteria because they can only grow in certain types of environments. While Figueroa is a long street, this only happens in part of the street that is in South Central Los Angeles. Why? Because the community and the city let it happen. The community let it happen because South Central was already in dismay. What more is prostitution going to do about the quality of life someone experiences living in South Central Los Angeles? They are already living in a crime-riddled area, so what is one more illegal activity going to do? Make it a bad place to live? It already is a bad place to live. That is also why the city failed to address prostitution, because in more prosperous places of Los Angeles, prostitution would not occur because the people that live there have something else to lose: their exceptional quality of life. If prostitution arrives in Malibu, the community and city will do everything in their power to get rid of it. Why? Because the residents of Malibu have something to lose. The security, safety, and prosperity of the neighborhood is in danger when illegal and illicit activities arrive. When prostitution arrives in a neighborhood, what does it bring? Well, the women who prostitute themselves do it not because they are using the money in responsible ways. Most women who prostitute themselves have substance abuse issues, such as drugs or alcohol. So when these women do get money, they are in search for illegal substances, and now a market has been created. So demand is there, all that is missing is for someone to supply illegal substances. 9 times out of 10, that power vacuum will be filled by a drug dealer. Also, the men that are hiring prostitutes aren't exactly the most upstanding people among us, so those men are now also coming to these neighborhoods. The women who are selling themselves on the street know how dangerous it is because tons of prostitutes have been hurt, abused, tricked, or even killed by Johns looking to buy. There's a reason why almost every major serial killer targeted prostitutes, because they knew no one would look for them. They were forgotten people, which is why some prostitutes turn to pimps, who are men that provide protection to a prostitute. In exchange, the pimps will charge the prostitute a small fee. While that is the most basic level of pimping, oftentimes it is more violent because the pimp will always charge prostitutes for protecting her. But what happens if a woman made $0 that night? That is where the violence comes into play. Sometimes pimps charge to be on their block or in their area, so the women who are selling themselves on the street that day pay a fee up front just to be on a certain street, while other times pimps are more exploitative and they will take the majority of the money a woman makes from selling herself on the street. An example being, if a woman made $500, the pimp would take $400 and leave her with $100. Some pimps take all the money because either the women are indebted to them, because some pimps are also drug dealers, so the women sell themselves just to buy drugs from the pimp, while other times these women are trafficked from other countries. An example of this would be Jason Beasley and Ruben Mitchell, who were two rap artists who were also well-known pimps in the area of Oakland. In 2013, a 17-year-old Jane Doe who was in a relationship with Jason Beasley. The extent of their relationship is not really well known, if it was a pimp-prostitute relationship, a romantic one, or if they were just friends. However, one thing is certain, and that is that 17-year-old Jane Doe was a prostitute since the age of 15, after running away from home. When 17-year-old Jane Doe met Jason Beasley in 2013, she was trying to get out of the prostitution business. However, Jason Beasley would retaliate, along with his brother Paul Booker and Ruben Mitchell, and other unknown assailants.
Loyalty over royalty, that's my motto. My team getting money, so we pop bottle. Stay fly, hoes choosing, bad bitches follow. Loyalty over royalty, that's my motto. Loyalty over royalty, that's my motto. My team getting money, so we pop bottle. Start shit. 30 rounds my 40, I spark shit. 100 rounds back, hey, gon' pour shit. He tried to do a drive-by, but I parked it. I'm a bully with the fully, I start shit. 30 rounds my 40, I spark shit. I spark shit, just like my...
On June 2nd, 2013, Jason Beasley would meet up with Jane Doe after she informed him that she no longer wanted to be a prostitute. Jane Doe would ask him to take her to her house, but Jason didn't. Instead, he took her to an abandoned road, where his brother Paul Booker would pistol whip Jane Doe and drag her out by her hair out of the car. Jane Doe screamed for help, but Jason Beasley didn't help her at all. It is believed that Jason Beasley set her up. Paul Booker would drag a 17-year-old Jane Doe out of the car. After pistol whipping her multiple times, then placing her in the trunk of the car, the 17-year-old Jane Doe was then taken to Paul Booker's apartment, where she was met with several other men, who remain unidentified to this day. The men would tell Jane Doe, "Should have just been a hoe. Why don't you just hoe? And you gotta make money for us." Jane Doe would lose consciousness. She would later regain consciousness, but she was bounded with duct tape and a blindfold was over her face, and Paul Booker and another man would start cutting her breast, her back, legs, and stomach. During this assault, Paul Booker would say, "Bitch, you gon' make me my money. I'm going to kill you, bitch, if you don't make my money." He would then put his gun inside Jane Doe's vagina and tell her if she screamed, he would shoot her. Paul Booker would say, "My trigger finger is itching, bitch." Jason Beasley would watch all this. He never once helped Jane Doe. Jane Doe would escape through an open bathroom window, where she hid underneath a neighbor's car, naked and bloodied, and told the neighbor to call the police. She would eventually be rescued by the police. Now 20 years old, she would testify against Paul Booker, Jason Beasley, and Ruben Mitchell. Booker was sentenced to a combined 50 years to life in prison. Ruben Mitchell was sentenced to 45 years to life in prison, and Jason Beasley was sentenced 15 years to life in prison. Human trafficking examples are sadly all over Figueroa, because human traffickers will charge them $500 to cross the border from Mexico into the United States. Most people don't have that kind of money, and they promise a human trafficker, also known as a coyote, to pay them back once they get into the United States. This is very dangerous for many migrants, as they can end up in permanent servitude to the human trafficker. For women, it is even more dangerous, as some human traffickers will turn into pimps and force the women to prostitutes themselves until she has enough money to pay them back what she owes. This is what allowing prostitution does to a neighborhood. It brings in drug dealers, pimps, violence, and human traffickers. So we have to ask ourselves, why do this in the first place? Why would any woman prostitute herself? As I said previously, one of the reasons that a woman might prostitute herself would be because she does it in order to feed her addiction, whether it be an addiction to drugs or alcohol. As mentioned before, the prostitute could be a victim of human trafficking or be in debt to her pimp, so this might be the only way she can pay it off. While it might seem like a simple task to get women off the streets by just arresting them, it is a way more complicated issue, because while prostitution is already illegal, many of the women prostituting themselves don't see a way out of it. Arresting them will just cause them to pay a fine, as prostitution is a misdemeanor in the state of California. However, when women do come forward and say that they are victims of human trafficking, then local law enforcement agencies can provide the women with resources that can help them escape. However, law enforcement officers can only inform the women about the resources. They cannot force the women to take advantage of the resources. So a lot of women may truly never get out of the life of selling themselves on the street. While it might be easy for us to cast judgment, we forget that the pimps are not only physically abusive to these women, but also psychologically abusive, and manipulate the women into thinking that this is the only way that they can live, by selling themselves. It is almost like being stuck in an abusive relationship, because a pimp will tell the prostitute that they will love them and that nobody will care for them like they will. But in the end, the pimps just see the woman as another person they can exploit for their own benefit. Also, something that is often overlooked is that some women genuinely want to be prostitutes. While this is true that they think that they want to be prostitutes, just accepting it as fact is a very shallow interpretation of what that means. When a prostitute tells you that they want to prostitute themselves, it more than likely means that this is all they have ever known, because truly ask yourself, does any woman really want to do this? No, but unfortunately, this might be all that this woman knows, so she thinks it is all she can do. She has no other options. Statistically, it is frightening just how many women fall through the cracks of the foster care system, or are women who are running away from abusive or neglectful households. The scariest part about this is when the underage girls who fall through the cracks, by the time they are in the early 20s, then who could truly blame these women for arriving at the conclusion that they will always be a prostitute? Most of them started when they were girls and having been selling themselves on the street since they were 13. What can be done to fix it? Well, we can start by helping the most vulnerable population, girls, and LAPD has done a step in the right direction. As well, they cannot simply arrest prostitutes for soliciting. They do stop every girl who they suspect of being a minor and soliciting for sex. While this is a very low-level response, as it is impossible to tell if someone is a minor. Plus, if LAPD do apprehend a minor, they cannot refuse services, unlike adult prostitutes, who, as I said previously, do have a right to refuse help. However, law enforcement can only go so far, and they have started doing a good job at protecting the girls and stopping future victims. However, more responsibility needs to be put on law enforcement, because it seems like they take one step forward and 10 steps backwards. As a law decriminalizing loitering for the purposes of prostitution was put into effect on January 1st, 2023, which is why LAPD can't just arrest a woman who are prostituting themselves.
People living and working along Figueroa Street near downtown LA say prostitution there is getting worse. Young women offering their services as sex workers, often in the middle of the day, and as the I-Team observed, even in front of school children. Investigative reporter Lolita Lopez talked with city leaders and motel owners to find out what's being done about it.
Community members of South Central Los Angeles have started putting more pressure on the city to do more than just patrol the community. While I do understand that at the end of the day, the prostitutes are also victims, knowing that kids that go to school pass them every day, and this adds further to a destabilization of a community, because who would let their kids play outside in this neighborhood? Who would open a business here? However, something is being done. Currently, changes have been made in order to benefit the quality of life for school children, such as demolishing a motel that was directly behind a school that previously had been known to host shady activity.
We're following some breaking news in South LA right now where there has been a shooting at a motel. Deputies were involved and now a man is in the hospital.
Now, the streets near Figueroa and 84th are shut down, and this could impact students and staff trying to get to a nearby school. NBC4's Tony Guignard live at the Vermont Knolls neighborhood where she's working on getting
And other changes have also been implemented to motels along Figueroa Street, such as only allowing customers to purchase a room for 1 hour is no longer acceptable, as motels used to allow clients to purchase motel rooms for only 1 hour, which is very strange, as most motels have a daily rate, not an hourly rate. This is just one example of how shady and dangerous the activities that took place at these motels were, because why would you need a motel room for just 1 hour? Another example would be the type of Johns, or men that would solicit for prostitutes. One of the men that was charged with soliciting a prostitute was previously convicted of lewd behavior with a minor. The LAPD is currently taking an approach of going after the Johns rather than the prostitutes, which is very interesting, as so far they have just targeted prostitutes, so now targeting Johns should see different results. If those results are better is yet to be seen. LAPD has also shifted their attention to arresting pimps and the gangs that control these areas. Once again, this is a new tactic, and it remains to be seen if it is effective. However, for the sake of the future of the children and the community who live here, I hope it works. And as always, thank you for watching.